Hey everyone, Sam here. In the last 2 days of spoilers, we finally took the dive into what wonders Witherbloom has, and Wizards continued to round out the set. What new tools did you get for your favorite format? Let's take a look. Wizards has had its hands full trying to create novel identities for color pairs we've come to know so well under their old names, all while staying true to the nature of the individual colors in each pair. I think with Witherbloom, they've hit it out of the park. Token generation, sacrifice, and life gain are all traits characteristic of black and green, but their combination in this set makes for an identity that is both separate from Golgari and truly exciting. Daemogoth Titan and Daemogoth Anguish Eater are both massive creatures, whose massively undercosted mana values are offset by the additional costs of creature sacrifice. Witherbloom's connection to token creation, chiefly with Pests, makes for an obvious synergy here. Anguish Eater is a touch smaller than the Titan, but it trades that power and toughness for extra value when you eventually sacrifice it. Speaking of token generation, Tend the Pests trades in a creature for an equivalent power's worth of 1/1 tokens. While it's an excellent way to trade in either of the aforementioned demons for a less costly alternative, there are going to be more exciting ways to use this card. Casting it in response to the sacrifice triggers on Kroxa in Standard or Phyrexian Dreadnought in Eternal formats makes for an excellent value play. Sedgemoor Witch continues the token theme, but while taking advantage of Magecraft to generate the tokens. Monastery Mentor, this card is not, but don't underestimate the value of generating free resources. Sedgemoor Witch doesn't have to single-handedly take over a game in order to win it for you. Gilded Goose, Thraben Inspector, and Tireless Tracker have an outsized effect on the game because they generate some form of resource you can use. For Witherbloom, Pests are a resource. Sedgemoor Witch also has Ward, making it painful for your opponents to remove it. I mentioned in the rules discussion of my first spoiler video that the templating on Ward would allow Wizards to insert a variety of costs here, and Sedgemoor Witch is the first such example of that flexibility. Reanimation is typically powerful, and with cards like Ifrit Flame Painter, we have good reason to put spells in the graveyard as well. Auric Mythmage gives us a repeatable method of finding what we need. Essentially Entomb on a stick with upside, the only concern I have with Mythmage is that it likely won't activate until turn 5, and Flame Painter is also a 4-drop. If there is a mid-range spells or reanimator deck in Standard though, I'd be willing to bet that Mythmage is an integral part of it. Harness Infinity, featuring beautiful art by Seb McKinnon, is a 7 mana value spell that exchanges your hand and graveyard. I'm sure there will be decks that seek to self-mill and then play this to put the majority of their deck in hand, looking to use it like a harder-to-enable Peer into the Abyss, but this reads more to me like a control finisher. Once you've made it to the late game and you're low on cards, just refill with all the spells you already used. But as cool as Harness Infinity is, it isn't my favorite Witherbloom card spoiled so far. That award goes to Culling Ritual, which may be one of the most powerful cards in the set. Destroying not just creatures, but all non-land permanents with mana value 2 or less, Culling Ritual is a brutally effective sweeper, especially in Eternal formats that lean heavily on low mana value permanents in the name of efficiency. If that's all the text that was on this card, that would be enough, but what really sets Culling Ritual apart is the fact that it generates colored mana for each permanent it destroys, allowing you to immediately rebuild ahead of your opponent. This tempo advantage can be backbreaking in normal 60-card Magic, but in CEDH, where you may destroy mana rocks in the double digits spread across 4 players, the mana acceleration could be enough to win on the spot. A trio of Silver Quill answers make the highlight list with Vanishing Verse, Fracture, and Silver Quill Silencer. Fracture is nearly guaranteed to see sideboard play in several formats and makes for an interesting comparison to Lorehold standout Rip Apart, which can answer one more permanent type but comes at sorcery speed. Silverquill Silencer is a spin on Meddling Mage, but instead of preventing the named card from being cast outright, your opponent is punished for casting it. I could see Modern Humans giving this card a try. Probably the weakest of these 3 cards is Vanishing Verse, given that it is a somewhat narrow answer, but it is worth mentioning here because it is an instant speed exile effect without a real drawback. It's unlikely to sit in as many sideboards as Fracture, but in a meta where a monocolored card or deck rises to prevalence, this will be an excellent answer upon which you can rely. There have been some powerful Phoenixes in recent history, with Rekindling Phoenix and Arclight Phoenix dominating formats for some time. I don't think Retriever Phoenix will have that kind of impact, but the design is smart, and this Phoenix could become a decent recursive threat. Transforming your learn effects into hasty creatures when you don't have a lesson you want or need from the sideboard is not a bad trade. Mila and Luca have a whole bunch of text on them, but much like the Luca we saw in Ikoria, the only bit I really care about here is his -2 ability. In Ikoria, Luca was a standard version of Polymorph. In Strixhaven, Luca is a standard version of Goryo's Vengeance. If only there were some card in this set that lets you put any card you want into your graveyard, repeatedly. Oh, that's right, Auric Mythmage was earlier in this very video. The only thing that remains to be seen here is which creatures will be the most exciting to reanimate. The Biblioplex is a fixed version of Library of Alexandria, which you can't activate on turn 1 when you're guaranteed to have 7 cards in hand and only draws instants and sorceries. In exchange for these drawbacks, you can activate the Biblioplex if your hand is empty, and even on failed hits, it acts as card selection and graveyard synergy. The Biblioplex will be a fine utility land for control decks which already seek to keep a full grip and primarily run spells instead of creatures, but it would be remiss of me to fail to point out that it can function as a cute method to break parity if you're running Sire of Insanity. It wouldn't be the modern era of Magic without an insane blue and green card in the set to worry about. That card, for Strixhaven, is modal card Yazdi, Oracle of Arcavios, and Journey to the Oracle. Another example of the 2 halves of the card working together, Journey ramps you to where you can cast the expensive Oracle, and even returns itself to your hand so you don't have to find another copy. This half of the card will do its best work in EDH, where there will be more tools to fill your hand with lands and payoffs to take advantage of the massive single-turn landfall. This card is powerful, but I don't think it's more powerful than Scapeshift. Yazdi, on the other hand, is amazingly powerful. It can protect itself for the low cost of a discarded card, and its Magecraft ability is ramp, card advantage, and the cheating of mana costs all wrapped up into one. With this ability, you never miss, and if the revealed card is an instant or sorcery, it will trigger Yazdi again, allowing you to chain together spells for just 1 generic mana each. When you see an 8 mana creature, you want it to generate so much value that it wins you the game. Yazdi does that. Those are my thoughts, but I want to know what you think. Is Yazdi too expensive to be a problem? Is there a card spoiled so far that's better than Culling Ritual? Which college is the most exciting? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like what I do, subscribe to the channel and get that bell on so you know when I upload new videos. Talk soon.